Okay, hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. It's still the 19th, and as I promised, I would show you Little once he's hung up. And so we went out like I said I was going to do, and I might as well show you here. That's the rifle that I used. All right, it's an M1 carbine, very antiquish. And it only took one round to knock him down. He went down like a ton of bricks. So it's quite humane. The alternative would be sending him to the stockyard, which is, I mean, it doesn't even make sense economically because it would take me quite a bit of gas to get him there. And then he might be worth 5-6 cents a pound. And, you know, it doesn't even make sense to do that. And plus, it's mean to him. He's been good to us. He's as important as any one of the animals on this farm, and he's really done right by me. And I probably wouldn't do this, you know, and I don't mean any disrespect to him, but I think this is a training deal where it makes a lot of sense for people to wrap their head around this whole concept. I got Jim helping me here. What he's doing, I've taken the hide down that far, and then we're taking the fat off, as much of it as we can. And then we have this cauldron going. The cauldron has a shroud around it, and we can just toss scrap wood in there and make some heat. And what that'll do is render down the fat. So that's kind of what's going on there now. Okay. And then if there's any other parts that we feel like putting in here, we certainly can, like the organ meat and things like that. And that way it will be fully cooked, or somewhat fully cooked, by the time we put it in bags and get it frozen for the dogs. You know, they do well on raw meat, and we do a lot of that too. But, you know, it's hard to feed just straight fat like this to the dogs. They will eat it, but in order for us to feed it to other animals, we do have to render it down like this. So we keep a lot of chickens here, and if I have, you know, a 5-gallon pail of rendered fat, I can reheat that, spread it on junk bread, and feed it to chickens, and it's excellent feed. Excellent feed, very nutritious, because that fat has all the goodness of our fields. You know, we take real good care of our fields, make sure that their nutrient content is way up, things like that. I watched this series on TV, Life Below Zero, and it's about families that are struggling to make a homestead living in Alaska. And one of the things that they crave, you know, they don't have a lot of time for fooling around. There's not a lot of TV dinners in around the Yukon area, and they crave fat. So here, this animal, we have this guy here that is just loaded with fat. And in a way, I think it's almost like a land seal, you know, it's just loaded with fat. On the pigs that we're slaughtering for the table, or harvesting for the table, you know, we don't do this. You know, that fat is for us, and if we were rendering it down, we'd do it in a more controlled environment so we can put it in tubs that can go on the shelf for us. In this case, you know, this cauldron here is what we scald pigs in, but dogs don't mind. I mean, they prefer it if I throw a piece of meat on the ground, it rolls around in the dirt a couple times, then it's seasoned. They like that. Or they go and they bury it for a couple of days, you know, or a week. They like that better. So this is what we're doing here. If you kind of do a little calculation on this, we're going to probably wind up with about 250 pounds of usable dog food. And then all of the bones, too, that are stripped off, we'll part them out because the dogs need those, too. They need to chew on stuff. All in all, this one pig will probably feed my dogs for a year because they have a lot of other sources of food. So this wouldn't be the only thing that they eat. So it's quite valuable to me. If I had bought food from the store, you know, it's over $1 a pound, and it's just not worth it. It's just junk. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Any questions? I guess we'll take them as they come. It's Mark Baker's Green Acres. Anyone can farm.